This conference will now be recorded.
Since I'm up here fixing this, we'll get that as soon as we can. Looks like I'm still working on it here. One thing that I did get some feedback too about the video, some people were saying that there's a little bit problem with hearing. I upped the gain on the microphone, so obviously we're bringing in more audio, and that didn't really make any difference. But that's just some feedback I gave that I wanted to give you guys. Another option would be to buy a very expensive recording situation for everybody at their own. I don't see that going anywhere. You guys got the social contract agenda, or your computer's going out. And one thing I want to say about the phone system is there's just been a delay. And the reason that is because everybody's phone number is on a separate account. So it's not like all of our phone numbers are one account. reaching out to let you know that I'm no longer in.
In 21 years, there has been a general assistance social services director serving Mitchell County. This oversight has contributed to the success of this department, ensuring fiscal responsibility for the county and a respectful culture for those in need of assistance. I believe it is apparent from the letters of support from our community partners that these services are essential and beneficial to the residents of Mitchell County. It is my hope for the individuals, families, and community partners that I have been fortunate to work with over the many years, that the continuation of social services will be available within the county in the future. As a current director of general assistance for Mitchell County, please let me know how the county wishes to proceed with the future oversight of this department so that I can transition my duties soon. This decision is what's best for my well-being and long-term career path. Respectfully, Megan Tues, Human Resources Director. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, madam.
As of yesterday at about 4 o'clock, the GIS mapping system through ArcGIS is now working on my computer, so, I'm gonna be working on that and trying to get parcels zoned as soon as I can, so that way then we can launch it onto the assessor's website. So.
Awesome.
What happened that made it work? I mean, what was the deal?
There was a lot of stuff. I was outdated on versions probably multiple times. And then I was somewhere down the line, I was taken off of being able to have the read and write permissions on ArcGIS through the county, which I reached out to Ryan and he fixed that immediately for me when I asked him. So it was just somewhere down the line. I think maybe some buttons were pressed and it was probably a complete accident, but it just created this whole thing that I wasn't able to do the map and now it's fixed. So hopefully we don't have any sort of issues further down the line, but if there is, at least I know who to reach out to and yeah.
How long did it take them to fix it? How long was it, the process?
Probably, like a week and a half maybe, like total. So,
So it wasn't just something simple, it was something that was.
yeah.
Once you could talk to someone.
Yeah, once you can actually get a hold of someone, then the process actually, like, they're very, very helpful. It's getting the ticket to be able to have someone actually help you and then set up like a Zoom meeting and then actually making sure that they address what you're actually supposed to be talking about, because we had something go out in the assessor's office and I was in there and I was like, I think I need a completely separate ticket for whatever I need. And then Rhonda and Rachel needed something that they were working on. So it was like multiple things were just happening at the same time and it just wasn't working the way it should have. And some of us were on completely different versions than we were supposed to be. So, I mean, mine's at least working now. Hopefully
That's good too.
everything's good. So, yeah, it was not a very fun process, but hopefully it's good from here on out. So.
Any other department head? All right. County engineer.
Morning.
Good morning.
Quick update on the Echo Bridge. I believe I was out there this morning. I didn't get to talk to anybody, but the railings are poured out there. It looks like The formwork's been stripped on the deck. I know they got some big beams under there yet that they gotta remove. That was holding the formwork up for the deck pour, but I think now they're on the downhill side of everything. So I'm hoping, I didn't get a chance, like I said, to talk to anybody, but I'll try to get a schedule next week. Looking at for opening. I have no information yet on the motor grader possibility, so that's still up in the air. We got a few guys, we'll have a couple guys going to Waverly on Thursday for MUTCD training, and the new MUTCD manual's been adopted by the DOT, so we've got to kind of get some updates and see what's been changed in there. So we wanted that Thursday. And I'm gonna try to, this morning I was looking at my schedule thinking I'm gonna try to get things set up to maybe next week set a date for a public hearing or a letting for those projects, but the week's looking pretty grim to try to get the plans finished, but I'm still gonna work on them. So I'll see if I can get something done for the agenda next week. If not, I'll try to push it back another week, but trying to get the plans done, so. I think that's all I've got for you this morning.
You know, we talked about 10-hour days earlier, that we kind of left it that the guys wanted to try to put something together.
I haven't heard
that showed-
anything.
Okay, I just wondered if they came with you with anything.
They haven't.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Are we waiting till 9:15 for?
Yeah, that's when Judy's setting up the hearing.
Okay,
Judy in person or?
Yes, yep, she's coming.
okay. We will move to number 8, approve recorder's monthly report for April. Looks like we have amount of $7,356.76. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Todd made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mark,
Okay.
Pam.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Motion passes. Zoning Commission Ordinance Amendment Recommendation. Good morning again.
I'm just gonna read off this letter, and this is just to pass on the recommendation from the zoning commission for their meeting. I will reread this letter come whenever you guys decide to set the public hearing, so. Good morning. On Wednesday, May 7th, 2025 at 6:00 PM, the Mitchell County Planning and Zoning Commission held a meeting to discuss the ordinance number 17 amendment that would potentially include rules and regulations for commercial wind energy conversion systems and commercial battery energy storage systems, along with a possible recommendation for the Board of Supervisors to move forward in the process of adopting this amendment. There was much discussion from the zoning commission that they were able to direct to Tom Trahern from NextEra Energy. During this public hearing, they were able to ask any and all questions and receive confident answers in return. The main summary from the meeting was that NextEra Energy thinks the draft of the amendment is reasonable, workable, and they appreciate the structure of the draft. The zoning commission feels confident in the work they performed and John Robbins's ability to work with them in what they felt was right for Mitchell County, and all in all, the way it has been drafted and presented. The zoning commission voted for a recommendation and the results were as follows: 5 ayes and 0 nays. With there being a unanimous decision on behalf of the Mitchell County Planning and Zoning Commission, I would like to present the recommendation to move forward in the process to adopt the drafted amendment into ordinance number 17. The zoning commission would like to thank you for this opportunity to diligently review, draft, and be present in this situation.
Thank you.
That's that. I don't know if you want me to stay here because I think discussion is
Yeah,
following this.
no, that's fine. Thank you for that. Number 10, discussion on wind ordinance amendment. As Aaron stated, it'll be a couple weeks for public hearing. But we did have that email. Did you reply to Aaron about John? Aaron's doing the resolution.
I
Or is
haven't
John?
heard it. I haven't heard anything from John, so I would think that Aaron would be doing the resolution for it.
That's what I'm gonna plan on.
Okay,
I saw him last night. We talked about it and it just said that I wanted to look it over, and so he's aware of it. He hasn't been informed from the board of that, but, so he's aware of that topic.
I will plan on doing it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Any other discussion?
She did a good job of setting up the meeting room. Thought we were gonna have lots and lots of people, and there were very few voices there. So thank you for getting that all together and prepared.
Of course. Any questions regarding the meeting for me or?
Doesn't sound like it.
So I guess the next step from here is you guys just decide whenever you want to start your process. And I'll be there for all the meetings. If you want John there, he can be there for all the meetings too, if you guys have any questions. Now it's just more so you guys digging into the wind ordinance amendment and the commercial battery energy storage system amendment, because those are both in there. And if you have any questions about that along the way, please ask me. So that way you guys are well informed on why things were written the way that they were written, or you need to just reach out to John. He can explain that too. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it looks awesome. It's gonna fit really well into the zoning ordinance. That's why it was written the way that it was written. And yeah, so.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for all your work on this.
Discussion and possible action on solutions fiscal year 26 annual support agreement.
So we did get a fixed contract back from Solutions with everything that we requested be changed. Did you folks have a chance to review that document?
Once they finally got our
There was,
They knew who we were.
county name off.
I didn't in detail, I'll be honest, I didn't in detail.
okay, well, I think that it should probably be tabled at least for another week anyway, but let me just explain what's going on with the managed service side of it. Let's forget this current contract. We're gonna go to the side that I pay that $30,000 for. So I'm going to chop that down to just time and materials like I'm gonna pay $5,000 per year for that support, and that can be used for anybody. So I just wanted to know, once I get that contract with that amount of money on there, I'll be ready to sign that portion of it. Is there, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
So the $5,000 will be prepaid services to be under that?
Yeah, correct. It'll just be a bank of hours,
And
basically.
we'll stay under the silver plan, because I think you have to have the silver plan.
You do not, no,
You do not?
I have, yeah, that was part of what I was trying to figure out, is no,
Okay.
you do not, you can simply purchase, like what I said,
Okay.
a bank of hours. And I don't feel we'll get near that number.
So you want us to table this?
I think, that portion of it, the managed service, I need a new contract.
Okay.
So can't be signed right now. Okay, we can go back to the other contract there. So I have mailed that letter also to Solutions, the same thing that went through. I know other counties are also sending that letter. This still isn't the entirety of the problems that are in that contract that we're asking for a bit more information on. This was more like fixing just the general language. You saw what they did. There wasn't really any policy changes within it. The two that are currently of the most concern is the one that says we cannot contract with an outside vendor to help us with solutions. There's currently a company filled with, and what was the name of that with the old Solutions? Folks, RenewGov, where they do provide services into Solution, which can help us. I know you spoke about that at one time, perhaps wanting to have their services. We won't be able to do that anymore with the new contract. So that's causing some concern of how are we supposed to be able to do what we need to do without this extra support. Basically, they're just pushing out their old employees and not letting them update their system. The other one is the clause in there of not being able to communicate between the counties if we have any issues with Solutions. That's also obviously concerning. And just need some clarification on exactly what that means. I can't imagine that means one of our elected officials can't call another elected official and say, hey, we're having this problem. So that's where that clarification is needed.
That sounds like a legal I mean, I can't imagine that they would say Rachel can't talk to the Floyd County auditor. That's something.
When I read it, I just didn't even understand it. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know for sure, but I've never seen anything like that where they can compel you to not speak to someone.
Yeah,
That seems super shady to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's something that needs distinct clarification on. Because that makes me really nervous as, you see there, maybe that's something Aaron has I'm not saying that has been read or anything, but that's kind of the two sticking points with the contract now. But we are happy they have updated it to at least what we've requested. So it's getting better.
he's out now, but maybe you want to touch base with him. on
Yeah,
this
I definitely
topic
will.
so that
Yeah.
he's aware of that.
I can definitely do that. Those are the two things that need clarification on. Once those are, then the contract's pretty solid.
Back to the managed services, so
Yes.
you're going to take the lead as far as to get it wrote how you want it to go,
Correct,
or
yes.
what you're.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. I will, and I'll send it to you guys. And again, once that's reflected of the amount of money, that's it. You can sign it. Well, I'll send it to Aaron, of course, before I do anything, but.
So I appreciate all your work on this. So in your communication with other counties, are they also highlighting these, they're continuing to highlight these issues?
Correct.
And are many of them going to that flat fee kind of
Oh,
thing?
as far as, yeah, there's
As
been
they're
multiple counties that have switched over to that. Some haven't. It kind of depends on your situation. Obviously, I'm here, so that dramatically reduces the need for those services, which I'm sure is part of the reason I'm here. So that's generally how the decision is made, whether or not they have IT support. The managed services side has actually been really good lately. I know we had some problems back during the floods and everything, but I have to say that part of it has been working really well compared to the software side. So I'm satisfied with that portion of what they're doing.
Okay.
And then, and this will also cover any after hours support that we need that can be used by anybody in the county to give them a call if there's some emergency situation.
So if you're on vacation or something, then.
Hit by a bus, any of those
Well, we're not
situations,
talking about that
unavailable.
kind of
Well,
thing.
that's kind of an
Yeah.
analogy.
Yep.
But you know what I mean.
Vacation thing.
Yeah.
I-
Let's go with the vacation.
The river does not have Wi-Fi. No, but so that's also a portion that can be used for that as well. Okay?
We'll table it for another week.
Yeah. I'll get clarity. Well, we talked about what I'm gonna do and I'll get that as soon as I can.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Heartland is not here yet, so number 12, further discussion on changes with county social services. We got that letter. Any discussion?
So the comment that we need to be sure that we're providing our general assistance. And I'm wondering if it would be a possibility for a few of the supervisors and perhaps some of the Board of Health even to sit down and talk about maybe a possibility of a part-time position for general assistance and some of the social services. Is that something that we would be willing to entertain, to find some solutions for both our general assistance and, some coverage on the social services side? Is that something that for a part-time position, most counties aren't spending a lot of time on those services right now. Or even, on the general assistance side of it, as far as that's concerned. And so I'm just throwing out the question, is that something that maybe we could entertain to get a little more information, some input?
I'm probably not available for that.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a meeting with us and them, that board together, have an open meeting.
maybe that they have some suggestions or thoughts on how or if there could be a cooperative, workable arrangement. Otherwise, I guess my question is, how are we planning on covering our general assistance?
Well, we had a direction before, but it was not real popular, so I guess I don't have an answer to that. It sounds like we're trying to do the same thing as far as what we were trying to do before. So I guess I'm not really understanding the new direction, but
Okay, unless maybe I misunderstood. What was presented to us were two separate positions for the county to explore. And,
correct.
and so I'm asking about how are we planning on continuing our general assistance moving forward?
When is the next Board of Health meeting?
Not until June, if I'm not mistaken, but we could ask them if they would, have some representatives that could come and meet, I'm sure. They've had special meetings in the past. Maybe that's something that we could sit down and get some ideas from them, what their thoughts might be, if that's something that,
When I read the code for both things for them, it does not say that that's part of their role. It says what they may do and what they shall do.
right,
So I would be interested to hear what, I don't know if this is gonna be an attorney general, the thing as far as what attorney general says, what the Board of Health can and cannot do, but I didn't read where this is their role to be doing that.
so and that might be a question that we need to ask of, some individuals that have a lot more of that kind of knowledge, because clearly several counties are doing it that way. Several counties have been doing it, handling general assistance, even before now. Ours was just handled under the social services position in Mitchell County, but, perhaps we need to get some more information on how they're structuring that, because several counties, it's not like we would be the first.
And it also doesn't mean that they're doing it correctly either. I mean, it's,
Yep, so like I said, yeah,
You're more than welcome to put a meeting together and bring us back the information that you guys gathered.
okay. Let me see if I can work on that, and see if I can get more information regarding the code and if general assistance would be. Otherwise, what is your other option for general assistance?
I don't know, I gotta do something before July 1st. Door's gonna be closed.
Right. And I would imagine we would need some time for people to be trained.
Yeah.
On that part. Okay,
All right,
all right, I'll see what I can get figured out.
items of note, meetings attended?
had a joint, we all did, a joint Worth County, Mitchell County Supervisors meeting in regards to the engineer's contract. We met and discussed that yesterday. And then I also, last night, I had NIACOG Executive Committee meeting, and then also the full board meeting last night in Clear Lake. Executive Committee discussed some changes in regards to the health insurance, just fine tuning some of the health insurance stuff and some of the wages. They're trying to get more part-time drivers for the transit system at 28 hours or less. We're trying to gear the system more towards that. And then the full board meeting approved a resolution in regards to the transportation planning work program that has to do with funding that's going out. We did talk with Jenny in regards to some dollars that is going to be available to a number of North Iowa communities. We are one of them, and has to do with some housing money that can be coming to us the word disaster came up. I don't know if it's necessary that we have a disaster to get the money, but I think it's under a disaster. I shouldn't say too much about that because I might be wrong on that. But anyway, I got to talk to Jenny about that. That's pretty much it.
I just had the Mitchell County and Worth County meeting yesterday.
I had a planning and zoning meeting that Amanda spoke about and had sat down with the department heads and had them bring up some great ideas for support for the future and some open communication. And then also the Worth County meeting yesterday, joint meeting with Worth County regarding our engineer.
I just had a joint meeting with Worth County yesterday. And I also, that was all I had, was the engineer meeting.
All right. Thank you. Public comments. And you can come on up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was just gonna introduce myself.
Good morning.
My name is Paul Lovell. I'm with Clean Energy Districts of Iowa. We're a nonprofit that promotes renewable energy. And,
You're not Steve Hopkins?
what? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hand out Steve's? I guess I was a card short. Steve doesn't want me to do that. But, anyway, I deal with citing issues with commercial renewable energy. And I knew you guys were writing it, so I just wanted to pop in and introduce myself, kind of see where you're at. And to me, it sounds like you have a great working relationship with NextEra. So I view that as very positive. Because we like to, we want renewables, but not at a cost where the locals suffer, and having reasonable regulations is awesome. And I think it's great that you're having a good working relationship. So I just want to introduce myself because my position is relatively new, and I've been going around the state trying to talk with boards and deal with other issues. So again, I just want to say hi, and if there's any way I can support you or help out, we like to be kind of an honest broker between counties and energy developers.
So what are some of the major work that you're doing right now or that you're focusing on, or with other counties? Maybe I could ask that question.
I just started my position 2 months ago because there's a huge demand. So right now I've been pretty much kind of, I call it fighting fires.
Okay.
going to different counties. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it makes people fearful and angry. And there's been some strong pushback, and usually a lot of that is because of misinformation. But unfortunately, there are energy developers too that are not partners with local governments. Sometimes just the way they operate as far as having contracts be like non-disclosure agreements with landowners, kind of strong arming landowners, that's a bad on their part too. So again, we like to try to be in the middle, but no, I just recently was in Dickinson County, and they had a wind farm that just got approved, and it was very contentious. There's a organized group, and again, had a lot of misinformation that they're operating on, and which was unfortunate. But Dickinson County did ultimately approve that project. But again, I just want to be out there as a resource, and if you need some honest answers that aren't biased one way or other, we're out there to help. Our organization is based out of Decorah. I actually live in Cresco, Iowa.
Okay.
And then I'm originally from Grundy County, Iowa. I grew up on a farm in Grundy County, so I've been active down in Tama County as well. So
Well, thank you for being here.
All right.
Thank you for listening to me, and
Thank
again,
You have a question or comment? So once the attorney looks the ordinance over and we get it to be a public document, that's something that you would be able to look at. So I guess I'm wondering, can you give us an example as far as what we would ask you a question about, or what can you do for us?
just again, if you want, there's misinformation like about wildlife kills or wind turbine syndrome, just basic facts. Or the good thing is you're working with Tom from Nextera. Some of these counties are doing setback distances that are just not reasonable for wind developers. You know what I'm saying? They become a de facto ban, you know, because the setback distances are just unworkable. But again, you know, Tom will let you know if the setback distance is a not workable type feature.
And he did not have a problem with that.
Yeah, and that's
We
a
didn't have
good
a
sign.
problem with any
Yeah,
of the setbacks that were in place.
so yeah,
I know that's kind of a big, broad question, but I just I didn't know what you would actually be able to do for us if we have a working ordinance that the wind turbines are okay with, and naturally it's gonna be a public hearing, and
Mhm.
the public might have some major issues with it. I mean, I don't know, we haven't,
Right.
not
And-
here yet. but-
and that's where I guess I can step in and try to provide some honest answers. Because again, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and of course, once people get scared or fearful, then, you know, they act irrationally. But there, on the flip side, there are legitimate concerns with renewable energy projects, just like anything else. I mean, nobody's gonna want to hear this, but there's no perfect energy source out there. There are costs.
Right.
But there's also benefits, and so you have to look at the whole picture. So again, I guess our organization tries to be an honest broker, provide, you know, information that's reliable.
When we have-
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, that's fine.
No, I was just gonna ask, so have you attended like these public meetings and answered questions?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
And that's what I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, is when we have our public meetings, I guess if you want to keep an eye on our agendas,
Mhm.
when we have a public meeting in regards to this, public hearing in regards to this, attend the meeting, so if something comes out that's, you know, is totally not correct, you can maybe correct it, so.
Yeah, no, I would love that. And that's why I just showed up today. I just
Okay.
found out last week that you were working on this. And like I said, I've been running myself ragged around the state, just trying to play catch up here with different counties. So, and there's a wide gamut of counties that have what I call a toxic relationship between like the supervisors and wind or solar developers, and others like you obviously are doing a good job. And that's great to be able to communicate and take care of that. So.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we will go back to number 7, discussion and possible action on Heartland insurance renewal. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Morning.
good morning.
Here comes the drive.
It was actually a great drive, beautiful weather.
That is nice.
How are you guys today?
How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
I think you all know us.
Yep.
And Mary's been here, so, we'll just kind of talk about, before we go through the renewal, just kind of, I'm just reiterating to everyone that about the rates, how, there had not been any increases in insurance rates for Heartland for at least 15 years for the counties. And then, in 2023, the Heartland Board did act to have an actuarial study done of the rates. And then based on that study, then there were rate adjustments. Some went up, some went down, just rate adjustments based on that actuarial study. And that took place, those went into effect for the 2024, 2025. And then those same rates are being used for this year too. So there's not been any changes in the rates. Probably the board will decide, whether they want to look at that every 3 to 5 years and have a rate study done at that time. But at this point, they're consistent. The rates are consistent with what they were last year. So based on that, I'll just go ahead and let Mary go over.
Good to see everybody again. So as Judy said, the rates for a lot of the coverages have stayed the same. So the differences will be in the exposure changes that you made. A couple things to note. Historically, Mitchell County had declined township E&O coverage. The Heartland Board made a decision that all counties needed to purchase the errors and emissions coverage. So that is something new for you. But to your benefit on the excess, it was we were trying to figure out how the excess coverage or premium was established many years ago, and we weren't able to figure out that. But what we figured is that some of the counties that were at 5 million, which Mitchell is, were actually paying the same as some that might have had 7 or 8. So trying to even all of that out, they made a decision. Everybody has to have a minimum of 5, but that actually reduced the premium that you were paying by $9,000 because we were trying to even out what the counties were paying for the limits that they were actually getting. So you'll see in column 2, under excess liability reinsurance limits, a 0 premium for that excess. So you still have the same limits, but they reduced that premium just to even out the premium that the counties were paying.
And then, if you did want to increase your limits, you can see at the bottom, and some counties have done that, what the additional premium would be per million.
I know you guys had talked about increasing those, your limit in the past. So just wanted to point out that there's actually a reduction in what you currently have. So if you want to increase it this year, may be a good time to do it with that reduction of the other premium. The other thing to note on the general liability expenditures, that was another area where over the years, there was a 5% cap. So there were some counties where their expenditures were going up well over 5%, and year over year over year, they were way off on what their expenditures were versus what their premium was being charged for. So the board, was that last fall or earlier last fall, increased that percentage to 10. So you're still paying less than what your total expenditures are, but the cap went from 5 to 10% for the increase of those expenditures. The only other thing to note is your mod factor. Does everybody understand what the experience mod is?
Run through it quickly, please.
Okay, sure. So experience is determined by NCCI, which is a national institute, where they take similar exposures, so other governmental entities of your size, and determine where they believe your work comp losses should be. And that is a 1.0 mod. So that is average losses for a similar entity to yours. And it is based on the 3 prior, not the current, but the 3 prior years. And so it's a rolling every 3 years. It comes off and on. Last year, your mod was a 0.81. So you're 19% better than the average. That did go to a 0.97. So you are still better than average, and still getting a little bit of a credit based on that. You'll see on that kind of the middle right side of that second page, you've got 21, 22 that will drop off next year. So depending on how your 23, 24, your 24, 25 losses end up at the end of the year, if they are lower than that, I would expect your mod to go back down. If they're higher than what they were in 21. So it's kind of, it's too early to determine what that will do next year. But you do have a high loss year that'll be dropping off next year. But all in all, like, even though your mod went up, you're still below that 1.0 average. So that the safety protocols that are in place are definitely working for you.
So that, can that be related to the, I'm good with 5 million right now, so it is as far as the liability limits. But can the mod be related to that, justifying whether a person needs to go up or not, or stay the same?
Nope, the mod only applies to your work comp, and your work comp is paid statutorily. So if a work comp claim happens to be $10 million, it's paid at $10 million.
It's a different thing.
Correct. The liability umbrella would go over your auto liability, your general liability,
Public.
and public officials. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, yeah, and so speaking about the work comp, then that's kind of what we talked about with establishing the safety committees that Heartland acted on last year with the establishment of those to be the counties each having a safety committee to meet on a quarterly basis. And in order to get the 10% safety savings discount off of your work comp premium, you have to have those quarterly meetings, which you guys are doing. And I went to the last one that you had. I know you have another one today, but I went to the last one, which was very good. And so you guys are, fitting into that and getting those established. And I think it's fitting what it needs to be doing. And then the other thing that the board did act on last year was a variable dividend plan. And that's based on your loss ratio. So that will be at the end of the policy period. So at the end of the 7/1/24 through 6/30/25, your loss ratio will be calculated. And any loss ratio under 30%, based on where it's at. If it was 5% or 30%, you'll get refunded back to your surplus, premium refund back to your surplus. So that's just kind of in keeping with the whole safety culture and keeping safety in the forefront and having that good loss experience, and that pays off for you, so.
Okay.
And then the only other things that I wanted to discuss, we'll have the harassment prevention training again as required by Heartland. Next, they'll decide at the next meeting in July what are the approved methods, and so we'll have someone approved for in-person. We'll get that set up, and those will be and I'll work with all the counties to get those set up. But it'll probably be in the fall as it had been in the past. And then the other thing is we will have our Heartland Fall Seminar, and that's scheduled for September 11th, and that will be at the Reinig Center in Toledo. So last year we had some really good presentations at that. One of them was generational changes in the workforce. That went over very well. People really liked that, enjoyed it, and so much so that we're going to do a very similar presentation on that again. But I think everyone saw there was quite a benefit in that presentation. So we're going to have that. We'll have a safety presentation and then a law review. So everyone, all the supervisors are welcome to attend, department heads, and anyone from the departments that you feel would benefit. Everyone is welcome. So, and I'll send out those invitations. So just whoever would like to come, we'd love to have you. So.
Any questions on this?
So, you talked about the harassment prevention training. Are there any other types of employee training that you folks come and do at the county level? So workshops for department heads, anything like that you do?
Well, we really don't. Now, Troy with the loss control does come, and he comes out, the first quarter he came out and did the assessment, made his recommendations, and then he will come and have be training on whatever type of safety things that you would have. Then also you have access to the KPA system and whoever would like to have access to that can have that. But there are trainings on there related to, HR things and safety, yeah, and everything. So if someone else, Pam, if you would like a log into that, I'm happy to get that for you.
That'd be
And
great.
yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah,
And then,
and we have actually a person on staff who is dedicated to that system. So if there is anything in particular that you're looking for, I can get you in touch with Christy. She can do a KPA training. So, I mean, it's a pretty vast library of online
Resource,
training and
okay.
resources. And we can set you up on a training so you know how to use it. Or if there's just something specific that you're interested in, we can tell you where to find it in there.
and I think she does do like a webinar once a month, I
Yeah.
think, for, anyone. And I do know she's gonna be out for about a month, but, she'll be back in June, so,
Okay.
but I can certainly get you
that's-
set up.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one reminder, if there's any changes to your exposures from, your property values, anything that, make sure you go through those. Those are due by May 31st.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this an action or is this just a discussion?
Yeah.
Action.
This is an action, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I do have questions that are good after the vote. Just not, kind of a related question, but not to do with what we're
Okay.
talking about here, so.
Is there a motion to approve Heartland insurance renewal?
We'll make that motion.
Mark made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Jim, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Can you somehow get me in this, what the dollar amount is for, we have a wastewater treatment plant that we own. And I would like to know how much it costs for us to insure that facility in regards to liability or just however it is insured.
Okay.
Can you pull that out of all of this somehow or? is there
Yeah,
a way
if
to
it
get-
is listed in the schedule separately, then we can,
And you can either email it to me or you can email the whole board, doesn't matter to me, but I'd like to know what that dollar amount is for what our obligation is to insure that facility. It's called wastewater pretreatment plant.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then this is separate from the dam, right?
Yeah, this is not the dam.
Yeah,
no.
this is, okay.
We have an industry called Valent that's on the outskirts of Osage. And our wastewater pretreatment plant pretreats the water from that facility before it goes to the Osage main treatment plant.
Okay.
And the county owns it, and I want to know what it costs for us to insure that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You bet. And then, as far as there'll be a DocuSign that's sent out to authorization to bind the coverage. So, if that's, you bet.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Any other public comments? Doesn't look like it. Nothing online. We will adjourn the meeting at 9:24.
Sorry, I didn't check the online again. Sorry.
I did. I didn't see any.